All right, how about that? Are you seeing my screen?
That's looking good.
Yay, okay. All right, well, I hope some of you were over in the other keynote session because we talked quite a bit about digital inclusion in that session. So I'll plan to just expand on it in this. And this section is digital inclusion, connecting the community. I'm Dianne Connery, and I believe I've got about 30 minutes to tell you what we have going on. And I'll start with your mileage may vary. That's one thing that I've discovered, small and rural libraries. We each have different stories to tell. So I'll talk to, I'm going to start the recording. Yep. I'll just talk some about what we have going on in Pottsboro. Pottsboro, population of 2,300 people, about 2,400 people. It's rural Texas, and so we are between Oklahoma City and Dallas, about an hour and a half north of Dallas. And our little town is not quaint. There was never a cute little town square. You see there at the bottom right, that is our municipal building. So that's the courthouse, the police station. It was built in sometime about 100 years ago. And when it rains now, it literally rains into the building. I mean, there'll be running water down through the police station. So that's going on. There's a very small tax base, not a lot of money for the city to spend because most of the businesses are outside of city limits. And in the lower left, you see there's one of the big marinas on our lake. So many people move to this community. First they'll get lake homes and then eventually retire here. And those people are coming for, and usually coming from professional positions and higher expectations of services. The largest employer for the local people is the school, and then a lot of other people work in as maybe nursing assistants or in healthcare field. So about 10 years ago, the library was completely volunteer, completely donations. All the books were donated. Friends of the library would do some bake sales, but there was no money from the city. And as of this year, may not sound like much to some of you, but the city gave us $33,500 and the county $2,280. And yes, I would love to have a larger budget, but we do a lot on a little. Luckily, we are successful with grants, but I just wanted to kind of paint the picture for you so you'll know where we're coming from. Oops, so this is the inside of our library. It was an old post office, and I love it when people have a shocked look on their face when they open the door. It's the nicest building in the city. So upper left, through an IMLS grant, we were able to get gaming computers and have started an esports team. I absolutely love it because used to be, well, 10 years ago, children were not welcome in this library. And what I saw moving here from large cities was that these kids were not exposed to technology in the same way. And I started thinking about what are their chances when they graduate from high school if they don't know how to use a computer. And so through IMLS, we started this esports team. Our coaches are gamers, esports players from a local college. And it's something that also requires fast internet. And in our rural community, connectivity is a huge issue. And so they really couldn't do online gaming competitively at home. The kids knock down our doors to get in and be part of the team and play. And so I've learned a lot through this about connected learning and about using something that kids like to kind of backdoor into something that they can learn rather than approaching it as teaching. So now we have a very active library. People are coming in every day. We're open 6 days a week, and a cross section of the community. We get a real view. So one of the things, because our funding is so low, one of the things that we have prioritized strategically is doing innovative projects to catch people's attention, particularly the media attention, because that results in bringing on more donors, making our city local government happy when they see this positive news about Pottsboro. So we're always doing something to kind of push the envelope, and we're in the position of experimenting. Everything here is a beta test. I went long ago, I wish I knew who the speaker was, but what I took away from her talk was, if you're not making people mad, you're not doing enough. And so I have held on to that. So lower left, you see our book bike, our pedal library. We will take that down to the school. There's a park by the school. As school gets out, we'll take that down there and a hot spot on it. And then usually we give away books. Sometimes we do activities, but it's just a eye-catching thing that we use in parades. And we really have to fight against that image people have of what a library is. Our niche is technology. We don't circulate nearly as many books as people who come in to use the internet. And so our circulation is declining, and in respect to what the community wants, we're providing more and more computers and faster internet access. And lower right, you just see how colorful and happy our library is. That's one of the esports coaches there, and then the Austin College, the head of their esports team. So that's our library. We're really big on thinking strategically. When we make program or service decisions, we like to think of standing in front of City Council in July and our budget request, and what do they value, what do they want to fund. And I will tell you, and this still amazes me, last year the police needed to replace a 10-year-old police car, and they told the police that they would have to wait another year in favor of increasing library funding. So in the 8 years they've been funding us, we've increased every year. It started with 4,000, now we're up to 33,000. And David Lankes wrote an article recently, a post, and it's talking about COVID, and are we going to be thinking about what we don't have, or are we going to be thinking about what we could be? And that this is really a perfect opportunity to reset and think about community priorities. And I will tell you, in Pottsboro, Texas, it's connectivity. Internet access should be a utility, in my opinion. It's essential. It's no longer just a nice thing to have. When the schools closed, the kids were locked out of the classroom. Those who didn't have internet access at home were given packets of material, worksheets kind of thing. Those who didn't have transportation, the school would deliver them to their homes 2 days later. So these kids are not on a level playing field. They're not getting the same education as those who have access to the internet. And so for us, it has not been about what was the library doing? Let's tweak it a little to make it work, to make it online. For us, it really is blank slate. What does this community need? It needs internet access. So that, you can tell I'm passionate about that. So a couple things we've been doing during COVID. Our 3D printer, which had largely been used before just to print cute little tchotchkes, has been going nonstop. On the right there, this was a design by a scout in Canada who came up with this ear protector, I think he called it, or an ear guard. And we now have literally sent hundreds of these all over the country. I've had doctors come in wearing masks because I will say we stayed open throughout COVID-19. We didn't circulate any books, but people could come in and use the computers by appointment just because it's such a huge need in our area. And so doctors would come in and show me their ears were folded down and bleeding because the mask pulled on them so much. And so we've been giving hundreds of these out to the local VA, local hospitals, but then shipping them all over the country as well. And on the right is a mask that you would put a filter, HEPA filter in. And just strategically, whenever we give these away, we give a little a little paper with it to talk about, please review us on Pottsboro Library, just to help spread the word. And then we use that strategically when we're going back looking for funding, gets the word out for people. So through our esports grant, the IMLS grant, we were able to afford a 500 by 50 internet signal. Previously to that, we had had 15 down and it was about 3 up, which meant anytime 2 or 3 people were in the library doing something, the system would bog down so much that the person at the circulation desk couldn't even check out a book. And so this, I think, needs to be one of the first places we start, is that we really focus on libraries getting signals that people can use. So one of the things we did was we went on social media and started talking to businesses, churches, organizations in the area about who had a signal that they could take their password protection off. People could drive up to their business, sit in their parking lot, and use their signal. And that was a way to help us promote local businesses, and people could just connect with them. Relationships are so much of this when you're really desperate for funding. So we had, in addition to our new Wi-Fi access point, outdoor access point, we started with connecting people with other businesses and places they could go. Telemedicine, I think, it's been talked about for years, kind of like the digital divide, but I think this is here to stay. So we had people coming in by appointment to use our computers for telemedicine appointments. And it's a webcam, they can connect with the doctors. And we had surgery follow-up, we had some mental health appointments. And again, if you don't have internet at home, a lot of people don't even have smartphones around here. So if you needed to go to the doctor, but the hospitals were saying, no, stay away unless it's urgent, it was hard for people to connect to the healthcare that they needed. And I'll just say, middle picture, our internet provider, I work closely with him. So I always try to promote him in any of our social media posts. And he makes me go after him to bill me. I mean, he never wants to bill me. So it's just been a really good relationship to get things done. So this is an accessible workstation. It's got text to speech on it and speech to text, and somebody could come in a wheelchair, raise and lower it. And so that's where our telemedicine appointments were happening. It so happened that there could be one person, we would schedule it so one person was in the library at the time. Going forward, what we need to do is get a soundproof booth for people to sit in, and I'm working on a grant for that. And our local Council of Governments is very interested in helping to fund that as well. So we gave out lots of e-cards. People who had never been interested in using our online books were suddenly interested. So we gave out lots of e-cards. City Hall is on a different street than where the library is. So they gave us some publicity on their city sign to come to the library for free Wi-Fi. And on the right there, you'll just see an example of what I try to do on a really regular basis is email the city and any stakeholders, county commissioners, judges, anybody who might be in a position to help fund us about what we have going on. And that's an important way when it's budget time to give them an understanding of what we're doing, because I bet we're not the only place that maybe the county commissioner has never come in here and he still has that nostalgic stereotype of what a library used to be. And I think it's so ingrained with so many people, they don't know to question it. So we have an extra duty to really advocate for ourselves, to get the word out about what we are doing to help the community. So a couple of things we did in response to COVID. Yes, we put it in our parking lot, but many people don't have transportation. So outside of city limits, there's a resort hotel, Tanglewood, and we talked with them about if they would be willing to have a mobile Wi-Fi trailer set up in their parking lot. And we connected with the Information Technology Disaster Resource Center, ITDRC, which is a national nonprofit. It costs $0 to you. It's a national organization of a lot of technology volunteers, and they have incredible resources. And so they set up this trailer, dropped it off in the parking lot, and so upper right, you see the hotel, and then the reverse shot, lower right, you see are the apartments behind it. And so I have one of our board members lives in those apartments, and she's been able to get a couple of photos for us that I really appreciated, because these individual stories are so helpful in attracting funding when people can put a human face to the condition. Because it's one thing to say digital divide, but it's another to see. Upper left is a disabled grandmother who is raising her grandkids, and she does not have transportation. She doesn't have internet at home, and she doesn't have a car. She lives in those apartments and was able to walk over to that trailer for the kids to do their homework. And the board member said there was a car parked nearby where somebody was studying for their GED. And then there's University of Oklahoma accounting student doing his homework on that. So this is incredibly helpful, but it's still not enough. Libraries need to be doing more, because what about when it's 42 degrees and drizzling, or they don't have transportation? And we do have mobile hotspots that we gave out some to teachers in the school district who don't have internet at home, some to students, and that works great in some situations, but in our community, there are lots of hills and trees, and there can be two houses next door to each other, and one house can get a great signal with it, and the next house, nothing. And so we are now working on alternative ways to get internet into people's homes. Drive-in gaming, all things being equal, we always try to do things that the media would like to report. And so this was an example of a drive-in gaming night we did. That's a trailer that we take to festivals and things, turned it sideways, and invited the esports team. Was our trial run. Everything's a beta test. We had our esports team come. They sat in cars and they played, it was actually a Mario Kart tournament, which was kind of perfect for sitting in cars. And that story was picked up worldwide, Ireland, Finland, Australia, and that those of you from really small towns, that just, you can appreciate, that cracks me up, because people in Finland talking about Pottsboro, Texas is just amazing. And just while I'm here at this slide, you can see the shed there is actually our library of things. We had a person in the community come in one day and hand me a $10,000 check and said, "We trust you to do something that will matter for this community." And so with that, I started the library of things. So we check out bicycles. It was actually food insecurity is an issue in our town. So people were doing all their grocery shopping at the dollar store, which had absolutely zero fresh produce. So we bought some cargo bikes that they could ride to the grocery store and get some fresh produce. So we check out bicycles, outdoor games, things like cornhole. People check out a lot of times for birthday parties. We do tables and chairs and things for garage sales. Our most popular is pressure washer, carpet washer, so camping supplies, all kinds of things in our library of things. And that's also a great, but people in the community like to give things that they don't have a use for anymore and don't want to store. So that's been a really popular thing for the community. We also, since I'm speaking about digital, we do check out GoPro cameras as well as some DSLR. And then of course there are programming opportunities around that to teach people how to use those things. So in our area, if you're familiar with what the FCC uses for what areas have internet coverage, everybody agrees that they are vastly, wildly inflated. If one person in a census tract can access a particular provider's signal, then it thinks that the whole census tract has coverage. And I recently talked to a nonprofit about getting help for our community, and they said, oh, according to our chart, 99% of your community has coverage, which is just, it's laughable. That is in no way true. And so one of the things we've done as a library is I've talked to individual providers to get their coverage maps, but I want to go beyond. I want to go out to our whole community, and I don't know if this will be a mailing or door-to-door, to really paint the picture of what connectivity looks like in our community. And that's the only thing I can fight against the FCC saying we have 99% coverage. Sorry. So again, doing things that attract media attention. Recently, I had been writing to people at ALA about what was going on in our community, telling them the stories of when our doors closed or when things shut down and people could only get in by appointment. We had a gentleman come in who had tried to call to file for unemployment benefits 143 times. His voicemail, which I have saved, he is saying, I have never touched a computer before in my life. And so I had talked to ALA. They connected me with a writer for Consumer Reports. And so I've always found one thing leads to another. And the more we can get the word out and talk to our legislatures, the more we can help our community. So my contact information is on here. I am happy to answer any questions after the session. I know a lot of people in the keynote session had questions about the library of things, but I just wanted to share with you what's been going on in our community, and to let you know that I really hope that libraries step up to this new agenda of getting our people connected. Devices is one thing, connections are one thing, and then helping people learn how to use the technology is another big step in what I think our role in the community is. Those are the things that will help move the people in the community forward, and at the same time, I think, ensure continued funding. Right now, there's a lot of opportunity out there. Everybody before talked about the digital divide, but they didn't see the urgent need of how essential it is till this happened. And so now's the time to talk to your Congress people, because they're working on funding for getting this internet connectivity to people. So let's see, do I have any time left, or are we at time? I think maybe 2 minutes or so. Does anybody have a question? If you want to unmute yourself.
Hi, Diane, this is Jason. You do have a couple minutes, but you'll have to actually manually unmute them if anyone has questions for you.
Okay, so for that, I probably need to open the chat. And, oh, let's see people from New Zealand. If anybody has a question for me, just because I'm having trouble scrolling through anything, if you will add it in there now, or yeah, that would work. Okay. So I thank you. Talking about inspiring, I am consistently amazed by what we do in small libraries. And I'm a big believer, you know, more people are getting served by our rural communities. So I think we need to toot our own horn more. And yes, the presentation will be available, and let's see, and the slides will be uploaded as well. Yes, I do. I ask people to leave reviews, either Google, we've got nice reviews on there. Facebook is how we reach a lot of people in our community, just because there is no newspaper. There is a TV station that's in a town over, but I have found they are so hungry for content, and right now especially, they want good news. Luckily, I have the reporter's cell phone number, so I'm always really big on reaching out to them and telling them that I have something neat to share with them that, you know, I know they want to cover. So we've gotten a lot of good coverage that way. And yeah, just feel free to email me or call if you've got any questions. And I appreciate the opportunity to share with you this library. I'm an accidental library director. This was never my background, but I really approach it as an entrepreneur. We've got a business here, basically, that we have to convince people of the benefits and the value of it. And through reaching out and turning outwards, I think we can do a lot to get people invested in what we're doing. All right, Jason, shall I, bye-bye. Hi, Gwen. Shall I stop the share now?
Sure, that sounds great. Thank you so much. It was a great presentation.
All right, thanks all.